we are so conditioned and we're so obsessed with productivity in our culture that sometimes we feel, even in the moments of hardship, even in the cold, when all you want to do is sleep more, rest more, slow down, nourish yourself, be more reflective versus focusing solely on your output, it doesn't feel like that's allowed. Maybe in the rest, my dreams will still come to me. Maybe my dreams and my goals will still be actualized and achieved if I lean into this period of rest. Maybe it's necessary.
For those who are deep enough to get it,
but profound enough to not care.
You're listening to Consciously Unconscious. Good morning, chickadees and chickadoos.
And chickahoos.
All of the chicks.
Actually, not chicks. It's not spring yet.
Oh, good morning, all of the hibernating bears.
I like that.
All of the little cozy bears in your hibernation. Good morning.
Good morning. We haven't sat on the couch in a while, actually.
It's been a minute.
It's been a full 7 days.
I sit on this couch every day.
Yeah, it's true.
Right in that little corner.
What's new?
Oh, well, that's a good question.
And I will answer.
And I will think about my answer. Nothing. The only thing that's new is that it's a timely enough conversation to say that I can't live in an environment that's 3 degrees.
Facts.
I can't do it.
Facts.
It's hurting my spirit, my soul. It's impossible to walk outside.
You know, I'm having a really hard time with my face.
What?
Yeah.
What do you mean your face?
You know how people have body dysmorphia?
Yeah, I do know.
I think I got the face dysphoria.
What do you mean?
Bro, every time I look in the mirror, I'm like, nope.
It just doesn't feel like you.
Nope. I feel I'm not fucking with my face.
Maybe because you're just aging.
Okay. You come on this couch and you're supposed to make me feel better, and then you say that.
No, you look beautiful in your little conductor hat.
And my
and your Grammy poncho. Wait, do you feel like you are dissociative?
Yeah, I feel like, who the fuck is that?
You go in the mirror and you're like, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary.
You know, I think I've told you this. I used to stare at myself in the mirror until I literally did not recognize my face.
Out. Yeah.
Until I could see me in a past life.
Yeah. Well, maybe you should try that again.
Oh, maybe I should. Like, stare at myself so hard that I get myself back.
Yeah, don't blink. Have a staring contest with yourself.
Okay, I'll do that.
And then you'll just go deep into the... You'll just go somewhere else.
Just go.
Just go.
Somewhere else is actually timely for this episode because we're going to mention that exact phrase in this episode. But do you ever feel that? I think the reason I'm not fucking with my face is maybe because it's also winter and I'm pale. Like,
yeah.
I just feel there's a dullness.
Yeah, I totally see that. I mean, not in you, but just like in general.
Actually, you're correct. I agree with everything you're saying about your face.
If I'm not tan, I do feel like I look a little bit ghastly.
Yes, like just not alive.
Yeah.
Maybe I do need to go blonde.
There's the drilling. You want to know what's new? There's been construction outside my actual front fucking door for 7 days now. They show up at the ass crack of dawn. I walked outside. The entire road torn to bits, torn to shreds. I'm like, okay, how am I supposed to drive my car out of here?
What'd you do?
I mean, they let me out. They let me through. I had to weave around like literal holes in the road. No, I can't talk about it. It's really triggering to me because I'm so sensitive to sounds. And to be either woken up by a dog barking above my bedroom,
mm-hmm.
drilling into concrete, sirens.
It's like you're back in New York.
Yeah, I can't do it. Anyways, I'm feeling a little bit, a little sleepy.
Yeah.
A little hibernation bear.
Well, the beverage of the week should help with that. Should we just do that really quick?
I would love that.
Okay.
I need a little lubrication.
And then we need to get back to a catch up because we do have a lot to catch up on. But the beverage of the week is a hot oat milk cappuccino with honey in it.
Yeah.
And it's because, can you reach them?
Sure.
Thanks. It's because this is my go-to coffee order. And I was thinking about if I could have my perfect winter day. It would start with
what would your perfect winter
oat
day
milk
be?
cappuccino. Well, first it would start with, and also this is my perfect winter day, a devoid of children.
You've been loving that word, devoid.
Devoid. I have been.
Yep, she's been using it nonstop.
You know when you just think of a word that kind of fits for a lot of things and then you just stay on that one instead of trying to find a new one?
Yeah, I don't even want to tell you what my word has been because now every single one of you is going to hear it in every episode. Can you guess what it is? It's when I'm trying to describe something.
Essentially?
Yep. Oh my God. I can't even listen back to the amount of times that I said it.
Essentially.
So essentially, it just means that like essentially.
Essentially, the essentials of the essential.
Like just pick a fucking another word, like basically or something.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I do like essentially. I think it fits you. Anyway,
your perfect day. Winter, devoid of kids.
Perfect winter day. Essentially, this winter day devoid of children.
Ooh.
Good, huh? Okay, I got it from my specific coffee shop. That is my favorite coffee shop because it's the only coffee that I like.
They got some bitter beans.
It's bitter, and I love a bitter bean. I'm a bitter bitch.
Bitter bean bitch.
Bitter bean bitch.
Bitter bean bitch loves winter. What are you doing on your favorite day?
So I'm sleeping in just a little bit, just a touch. And then I'm probably going to a hot group class, like a hot yoga or a hot Pilates or whatever, hot. Then I'm coming home. I'm going to get changed. I'm going to go to a coffee shop. I'm going to get my cappuccino. I'll sit there, have a chat with somebody, or I'll read a book, or I'll probably write. And then I want to go explore a mountain town. I want to just go walk down a historic street, pop into some vintage stores, antique stores, go home, get in a hot bath, hot shower, and then have some soup. That's my perfect winter day.
Soup. Yeah, sounds like a really good day.
Yeah. What's yours?
Probably that.
Cheers. Beveragine. Wintering.
Okay.
Beveragine.
The amount of times that Amanda's going to talk about this specific book in this episode that she's been talking about for 6 weeks straight and mentioning to every single person. I was talking to Zeus the other day and I was like, yeah, we're recording a podcast on winter. And he's like, is Amanda going to talk about the wintering book?
No, we did not.
I said, yes, bro. How did you know that? And he said it was the first thing she said to me. I said, she is on her fucking high horse.
It was the first thing I said to him when I met him.
You were talking
Hi, my name is Amanda Fowler, and guess what? I'm reading a book called Winter.
He even knew the author and everything that you told him. It's a British author and blah, blah, blah.
You know what? Points for Zeus. He's a listener.
Yeah, he is a good listener.
He's a good listener.
So I just want everyone to know that what you're about to hear today, I've been hearing for 6 weeks straight.
It has taken me 6 weeks to get through this book, and I feel really bad because the last time I went to the library with the kids and checked out some books, they told me that I had this book checked out for too long, and they needed it back because somebody was requesting it.
And you said, I'm dyslexic.
So actually, I'm illiterate. And so I do need to return this, but I wanted to have it for the episode so it could just...
Of course. She's been sleeping with it under her pillow at night, every night. They're like, can you please bring the book back? She's developed an attachment to it. She can't let it go. She's like got it tied to a leash. She's like dragging it around. You know what that reminds me of?
My emotional support pet.
The scene in Napoleon Dynamite where he ties the string to the...
I've never seen Napoleon Dynamite.
And this is where we differ.
That is so your humor.
Well, let me just tell the people in case they can visualize it. It's the scene where he's sitting in the back of the bus and he takes this little action figure and he ties a string to it and he throws it out the window and then he like lets it run behind the bus. That's like you with your book where you carry it everywhere. You tie a little string.
All right, it's like whatever. My Flat Stanley.
I don't even know where we're going with Flat Stanley. But anyways.
Back to Zeus really quick.
Okay.
Last time we chatted, Zeus was coming to visit.
And he did.
He has come. And he has conquered.
I mean, if you want to put it that way. No, it was a really fun weekend. It's really interesting when you have someone finally come into your space and just be part of your life. Oh God, she's taking off her shoes.
I don't want to put my shoes on your couch.
Thank you. That's really kind.
You're welcome. Very considerate.
Because last time that we spent time with each other, it was in a different location that wasn't my house. And so it still felt very, vacation. And here we go. And we're at the beach and we're this. And having someone be in your space, meet your friends, come to my yoga class, just be part of my life was really cool. It made me feel like I had to let a lot of my walls down to allow that to happen, which is a good feeling when you do that and then you realize that someone does fit versus doing that, being vulnerable and then realizing oof. But
were you anxious?
No.
She says no.
No, I wasn't anxious because I knew that we would have fun. I knew that it would be great no matter what. I think I'm still working through a lot of kind of what we talked about the last couple pods of just dating someone new in terms of self-limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
And allowing someone, physical touch is a big thing for me. I don't always allow people to be physically really close to me. Which is funny because you would think that I'm a lover. Oops, I'm breaking the microphone.
What are you doing?
I don't know. I'm getting anxious.
You need a fidget spinner. Yeah, because you're not a physical touch person, huh?
I am and I'm not. I don't want to say that I'm not because I do love physical touch and it does make me feel good. And I'm constantly grabbing for a partner's hand, or I like to be touched on the small of my back when I walk past them.
She's a poet.
But sometimes it's hard for me to be receptive to other people showing love. I like to give physical touch when I like to give it.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me to be receptive to receive it.
Do you think that's just because it's a new person?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved him. I'm just going to say
what were
it.
your thoughts?
So
Without
I think
getting
it's
too into detail, because
I just think it's so interesting too when it's not like we went out to dinner and met him and got to chat with him the whole night. We had a Super Bowl party, Lucas and I, and we had a bunch of our friends over, and Jessa and Zeus came, and I almost said his real name. Jessa and Zeus came, and I just really appreciate when somebody can come into a situation where they don't know anybody and they make themselves useful. They are great communicators. They can go up to anyone. You can leave them in a room and they'll be fine. They'll talk to somebody. You don't want to have to hold someone's hand through every situation in life. And I think that's such a green flag in my book that he was just so he comes in and we're making drinks and Lucas is can you go fill this up with ice? And Zeus takes it and goes and fills it up with ice, but he asked me to fill it up. So he just he's just, I don't know. I really appreciate somebody who just gets in there.
Yeah.
And
he definitely got in.
And you guys looked so cute together. He's so cute. I thought he was adorable.
Yeah. He's precious.
Yeah.
He's precious.
Yeah. Precious.
And it was so precious to watch him with your kids. I was like, Jesus Christ, please, I got to look away.
No, he's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. God damn it.
Speaking of the Super Bowl, though, Kendrick Lamar's halftime show.
I'm not up with the lore.
Ah, dude. It was nuts.
What's everyone talking about?
Well, we watched it together, so we were there. You were there.
It was a great show, but I didn't understand any of the subliminal messaging.
And I didn't either when I first watched it, but I had to watch it back because I was seeing a few things where people were talking about metaphors that he dropped, and it was just such a nod to the political climate, which I'm sorry, it should be. Any halftime performance, I really think should be.
Yeah, you got to be speaking to the bigger picture.
Yeah, and I just think that he is such the voice for the revolution in a way. He is somebody who says what he says and says it with his chest. He's not going to...
He says what he said.
He did. And he's not going to shy away. He's not going to back down. He's going to say it and he's going to mean it and he's going to be intentional.
Well, what's he out here saying then?
So there were just so many things. So there was... the stage was a bunch of different... There were 4 stages. There was one that was an X, one that was it looked like... math,
Long division?
It looked like multiply or like circle. I don't know. Whatever shapes.
Tic-tac-toe.
Maybe it was tic-tac-toe.
Uh-oh,
We're
she's
unpacking
decoding
things.
it.
So there was a circle one, and he had all of his dancers going counterclockwise.
Okay.
As if to say we are going backwards. There was a projected words on one side of the stadium. It was on the right side of the stadium, and I think the president was there. Like, I think he was there on that side, and on that side it said warning, wrong way.
Jeez.
Yeah, dude.
That just gave me chills.
Mm-hmm. There was another thing where he mentioned, because a lot of people are like, okay, you know, how are you going to take your diss track to the Super Bowl? Like,
what's a
that's
diss track?
Nuts. Not like us. They not like us. They not like us. Are we gonna get copyrighted? They not. I sound just like him, so maybe we will.
You do, probably.
Yeah.
Wait, what though?
So the Not Like Us song is a diss track on Drake.
Why?
He created it because they got into a beef. You don't know any of the lore?
Nope.
Okay, I'm not going to sit here and just explain it to you because we would be here for forever and we got to get the ball rolling.
But they don't like each other.
Well, there was basically a
Matt,
beef
rawr.
with yeah, they very angry. J. Cole got in there angry, but then he apologized and he like went back on his word.
What
basically,
are they fighting over? Fame,
I
money?
think Drake and J. Cole both said like, we're the best in the game. And Kendrick was like, oh, it's not the big three, it's big me. I'm the best. Like, probably an ego stroke, right? But it got really, really like zingy really fast.
Rawr.
Yeah, it got really raw XD really fast.
Yeah.
And then Kendrick just dropped Not Like Us and it was like crazy. And it won a bunch of Grammys and now it was performed at the Super Bowl, but Drake is suing Kendrick.
Why?
For defamation. Because he calls, in the song he
This is
says,
a joke.
certified lover boy, certified pedophiles.
Facts.
Calls him a pedophile. He did. What is good? We are in New York City.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress, but essentially, he made a lot of poignant political jabs. And so, you know, Serena Williams? You saw her.
Yeah.
She was crip walking. Serena and Drake used to date. So he brought one of Drake's exes out while Not Like Us was playing, and she's crip walking, like looking at the camera, like, fuck you.
Wow.
It was
very well
nuts.
planned out.
So well planned out. There were a lot of other subliminal messaging, not subliminal
It kind of sounded like Kendrick.
You do. A lot of other messaging that was like so good, but I'm sure you guys all saw it. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that because I thought it was insane. And everyone was freaking out about his jeans.
His bell bottoms.
Everyone wants the bell bottoms.
His flares.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I think about the entirety of the Super Bowl? That's all very interesting stuff. And I think that, you know, we've talked for a long time about doing an episode on Hollywood and fame and all of this like really crazy behind the scenes subliminal messaging and all the weird dystopian shit that happens. But I think the Super Bowl is absolutely obscene. I think it is such a disgusting display of gluttony and greed, and
from consumers or from
everyone involved, from people who consume it, from people who put it on, from the fact that it's even gotten to be what it is. I like organized sports. I love watching a game. I appreciate the concept of sports and competition. And
I appreciate sport.
I like sport. I'm just here so I don't get fined. I appreciate physical exertion of your body. I appreciate athletes that work their lives to like focus on something that they love. But the Super Bowl, I mean, the fact that one commercial, people had to pay $8 million for a 5-second commercial. Mm-hmm. The fact that it just feels like such an American representation of greed. And
facts.
It makes me question how stupid we are because of the directions and the places that we're allocating our resources and our wealth.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's never made sense to me. I used to say this all the time in college and in high school. Like, how are we paying a professional athlete millions of dollars a year, yet we're paying a social worker $50K?
You would be in a tizzy then over what's going on with the NIL.
I don't know what that is.
How college athletes are now being able to get sponsored and get paid by the colleges to go to that school. Meanwhile, somebody sitting in their same class is literally getting in debt trying to go to that school. I got into a huge argument with my family over this. How fucked that is. You're telling me that you're paying athletes to go to school millions of dollars when kids are in thousands of dollars in debt to be there.
Yeah, the fact that education is simply not accessible to a large number of the population because of how we price it is just such another way to create hierarchy.
100%. I wrote a poem yesterday. I don't know if you saw it because you're still off of Instagram.
Was it Meow Bitch?
Yes, it was. And I did. I forgot I put it on Substack.
Yeah.
But I said that. Like,
you should have asterisked the I.
I know. I did on Instagram because it would have taken it down if I didn't. It said, edit this caption. It looks harmful. Yeah. But I said, I mean, the fact that because I'm having a whole, what's the word? Dialogue with people over being anti-vax or pro-vax or whatever.
I heard.
From who?
I had a couple people reach out and say, you got to watch Amanda's Instagram story.
Who? Oh my God. Call them out right now. Please tell me who. Whisper. I'll bleep it out.
But you can't be going on Instagram and posting
do whatever the fuck I want.
Anti-vax things.
I wasn't anti-vax. This is the thing. See, this is the problem. People who question things and who want to make like decisions and form opinions for themselves this is the whole labeling episode.
I totally
is the whole like there is a gray area, but people are so uncomfortable with the gray area that then we have to label people things, you know? Who the fuck says fuck you're gonna talk about you're fucking talking to me? You're gonna say it to my fucking face, bitch.
No, but I completely agree that there needs to be more dialogue around things that are considered taboo and things that are really divisive, because the more that we open dialogue about it, the more that we ideally begin to understand other people's perspectives. I do think that there are consequences to being someone who's willing to talk about those things.
For sure. And I'm willing to bear them.
Yeah.
I'm so willing to bear them. Because as many DMs that I got that were like, fuck you, you're putting your child in harm for even questioning. By the way, my kids are fully vaxxed. So like make it make sense. But the people who were like so irate at me even questioning, I got equally the same amount of people being like, whoa, thank you for talking about this because this is how I feel, or like I want to question it and nobody has given me the space to. And like, again, like
it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah. And I don't think we'll get anywhere though if we're so afraid to have these conversations. But the reason I said it because, dude, Ellis got shots. Dude was fucking limping for 2 days straight. Limping. Lucas, I'm usually the hypochondriac in the family. Lucas is like, you got to call the pediatrician. He's fucking paralyzed. He's not. He's fine. But like, when you see things like that, it makes you want to question things.
Sure, it's okay to live in the mind of a skeptic. It's okay to not just blindly follow and believe everything that we are fed. We know that. I think that the double-edged sword comes when we utilize social media as a means to project opinions both ways. I'm not saying that you are doing that. You're mostly opening the door to discussion, which is what you've always been open about in terms of like talking about politics, talking about all these different things that like you feel comfortable sharing to create dialogue and to create people to like think differently, feel differently, get a little bit like, ooh, wait, what? Did that offend me? Why? Like you're creating a mirror for people, which I appreciate. I just think that in general, like social media can be a really volatile environment to pick and choose like what is worth sharing.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And I feel like I've totally reeled it back. I used to be way fucking more like oversharing than I do now because of the scale of I don't want to say hate, because there are always going to be people who hate, but it's more just like the quick to label, or the quick to be like, you're being harmful, or the quick to, so I sometimes feel like I don't even want to share, but
yeah.
I don't know. It's worth it when you get a DM that's like, wow, this was helpful.
You never deserve to have to limit yourself and what you want to share authentically. But I do think now is a little different, that there is less of just like, this is my page and I'll take the backlash, now that it's connected to this podcast and our business.
She's like,
and me.
Don't get me fucking in trouble.
Bitch, don't get me canceled. But anyways, I mean, this is good conversation to just have on the pod, because I think it's interesting for people to listen to how real business partners, friends, people have conversations about stuff like this. So don't get me. So just know whatever you put out there is a direct reflection of me.
Okay, we need to get into wintering before we just yap this whole episode. But
Amanda wanted to do an episode. She came to me with this novel idea, which here we are.
So
I heard her out. Let me finish.
Okay, sorry. The caffeine's hitting me.
She said, I have an amazing idea for the next episode. And I said, give it to me. I had just given her like, fame, money, Hollywood. I'd given her like alternate medicine, psychedelics. And she's like, winter. I think we should do an episode on winter, more specifically wintering, because I'm reading this book. But she wants to do an episode seasonally, which I think is a great segment. Each season we talk about each season.
Spring, summer, fall.
So this episode is simply just going to be titled Winter in all caps. And we're just going to see how many plays it gets. But I'm going to let Amanda take the wheel and talk me through winter.
Okay. I thought this was a really interesting concept because I grew up in Florida. I never had a winter. I experienced year round, the coldest it ever got was maybe 60 degrees or like maybe 40 on an off chance. It was never cold. I never had, yes.
We're going to have to cancel Pilates.
You think?
It's 9.
We can talk until 9:25.
All right, go.
Okay,
go.
I'm going. Okay, this is the societal pressure of doing. So basically, I never had a winter. And when I moved out to Boulder, I really felt the effects of winter, the effects of the cold. And it was the first time I had experienced this deep introspection, reflection period that felt really cyclical, that felt really seasonal. And so the reason I wanted to do this episode was because I think that there is such a societal pressure to live linearly where, if you're not doing better than you were doing in 2023 and 2024, what are you doing? And if you're not constantly up leveling, if you're not constantly like going up, you're not doing well. You're not successful. And so this whole concept of winter and wintering and why this book was so profound to me was because it was a permission slip for me to lean into the intuitive knowing of deep nourishment and deep rest during the winter periods that I had never experienced growing up in Florida. And why are you smiling at me like that? Why are you smiling at me like that?
Well, I just am waiting to say something when you're done with your thought.
Okay. And so
I'm like,
I just think that we are so conditioned and we're so obsessed with productivity in our culture that sometimes we feel, even in the moments of hardship, even in the cold, when all you want to do is sleep more, rest more, slow down, nourish yourself, be more reflective versus focusing solely on your output, it doesn't feel like that's allowed. And so I kind of just wanted to do an episode on this, share the book if you haven't heard me and you haven't gotten it through your minds at this point to get this book, because I really do think that it it can just maybe be that catalyst for you to be like, maybe I should rest, and maybe in the rest my dreams will still come to me. Maybe my dreams and my goals will still be actualized and achieved if I lean into this period of rest. Maybe it's necessary.
Have you ever heard of the Scandinavian mindset shift?
No.
So obviously Northern Europe, Scandinavia, Norway, all those countries
I'm
up there.
25% Finnish.
We did look that up. You're looking very Finnish right now with the hat.
Really?
Yeah.
Slay.
Finnish? A little Finnish, a little Viking woman.
What is the Dutch? It sounds very like,
what?
Are they Dutch?
No.
Finnish? What do they speak? Finnish?
Yeah.
I think they speak Dutch.
Maybe.
Okay.
But Dutch is a very harsh language. It's kind of like German.
Got it.
So the Scandinavian mindset shift is basically this idea. Have you ever heard of like hygge? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just looked it up this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's essentially this way to oh no, I said essentially. Fuck. It's this way. It's basically this way to romanticize the cold. Because they live so many months of their year in darkness, in cold, they have to find a way to shift their mindset around it. And so there's actually studies that show that their depression rates are not higher, even with the extended darkness hours, the like brutal cold that they experience up there. Have you ever heard of Longyearbyen?
No.
It's in Norway. It has I think something about like the coldest recorded temperatures or the longest. It's not the longest hours of darkness. That's somewhere else in like Antarctica. But they don't have low depression rates just simply because of this mindset shift that they've taken to romanticize, light candles, gather around the fire, continue to celebrate, plan, be creative, like really make their life just as powerful instead of a lot of like American culture and even European culture, like in other places, is that our lives must stop. We must hibernate when it comes to winter. It's a period of like stillness and softness, which is good. It's still a powerful thing to kind of like stop doing and being. But I think we always think of it as this negative, cold, dark, sad, gloomy.
I think we also have shame around it. I think that something that was interesting is she talks a lot about her friends who live in those parts of the world. And she's got a lot of Finnish friends, and they talk about being in sauna, where it's so different from being in the sauna. It's being in sauna as a ritual, as a sacred time. It is that is where they gather. The sauna is more than a place for them to sweat. It's an experience.
Yeah.
And she talks about, again, like you were saying, how these people find ways to thrive, not only survive, but thrive in the winter. But I think because they have so much more darkness, they're comfortable with it. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think because, and I'm very curious for people who are listening who are born in different areas of the country, and if they were like me and didn't experience winter, and I want to go back to you too, because I know you grew up in winter.
Yeah, like cold.
Yeah, and so I think that there's almost this shame around discomfort that we have. We are a culture that is so obsessed with being comfortable. And I think that people who live in other parts of the world, like Finland, they're so used to the cold. They're so used to that bite. They're so used to the darkness.
Yeah.
Whereas we are not. And maybe that's why it contributes to us closing our doors more versus opening the doors, celebrating in winter, being able to still find ways to thrive and being comfortable sinking into that deep nourishment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think you make a good point that your standard is just set differently based on what you adjust to, based on where you grew up. I grew up in upstate New York, which is really fucking cold. I mean, it's basically Canada. It's dark a lot of the winter. It's
Doesn't
really
get sunlight.
Snowy. That's the comparison about East Coast to here, is that the East Coast like has just many more days of clouds and gloom. And so I'll go home for 5-6 days and the sun won't come out once. And I'm like, are you guys okay here? No one's okay here, right? Okay, you all need a sun lamp. You all need like some vitamin D, because it's really not necessarily much colder than it is here, but because the lack of sun, it feels really contractive.
Everyone's sad.
Yeah.
Seasonal affective disorder.
The East, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
The East Coast just has a different general vibe to it and feel to it that's a little bit more isolated, driven, like.
Here's the thing, though. Do you feel that there was a change in the way that you acted, ate, nourished, played, rested in winter growing up there, even as a kid or even in your young adult life of being in high school and college, like sports? Do you feel like there was ever this like slowing down with winter?
Yeah, not until I got older. I mean, when you're a kid, you don't even really care what season it is. You're just going to go out and whip around in the snow and throw snowballs and make forts and play just like you would any other year, any other time of the year. You just layer up. I think once I got to college, I went to school in New Hampshire, and that was freezing to walk across campus to go to class in like, and the standard is just set differently. Like, classes are never canceled. You're trudging up hills. You're walking through ice. You're going out to bars in 3-degree weather. I mean, it's insane. And so at that point, I think maybe a little bit I was like starting to notice, whoa, how do I actually feel about what I do during the winter and how do I nourish myself? But I really appreciate seasons. I think that they're very melancholic and very nostalgic to watch the world change around you and to join in that rhythm. I could never live somewhere that was seasonally warm or all year warm.
All seasons warm.
Because I just can't imagine. Like, it's such a marker in time. It's such a way to reflect on past years. It's so sentimental.
Yeah, chili doesn't hit the same when it's like 70 degrees.
There's almost similar to Scandinavians, people in Japan celebrate, I think they call it like a snow zen mindset or something. And it's very similar, but it's almost like Wim Hof, where the monks and people of Zen Buddhism like go and sit out in the snow and practice meditation and breath. And it's a reminder of the impermanence of everything. It's a reminder of the death and rebirth cycle. It's a way to control your body. I mean, it's just like people all over the world find ways to appreciate and lean into and participate in.
So why are we the only
winter.
culture that doesn't?
Because I think you're right. Because I think it does slow us down. And at any cost, we don't want to be slowed down. We live on a lens of productivity and accomplishment. And you just physically can't accomplish as much in the winter. Do you know where the coldest place on earth is? What's your guess?
What is that place called where you see the northern lights? What's that called?
I mean, you see them in a lot of places, but no, it's not Iceland. It's not Greenland.
Oh, I was going to say Greenland.
Russia. It's this place in northern Russia called it starts with an O. I don't fucking know. Temperatures get down to -90 degrees.
Fahrenheit?
Yep.
What?
Every single day, kids will walk to school. They only cancel school if it's less than -60 degrees.
See, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly my point. I picked my kids up from the school the other day in 20-degree weather, and I have maybe a 10-minute walk home with them. I took the wagon, and they are throwing a fit about it. They're bundled up in jackets. They've got beanies on. They've got a blanket. They're throwing a fucking fit. Can I watch a movie when I get home? This is so cold. It's so cold. Why are we so afraid of the discomfort?
Well, I think, we are maybe afraid of the discomfort, but it is also like really hard on your body. Your body is burning quadruple the amount of energy to try to keep yourself warm. It's physically more difficult to do things, to move your body, to process information, to warm yourself up, to keep yourself healthy. Your immune system is compromised because energy is going elsewhere. Like physically, biologically, it's harder to exist in the winter. Think of way back to like early human times before anything existed in terms of like structures and heat and electricity. I mean, we had fires, right? But people would die off in the winter. People would literally die because their body can't subsist. It can't live. And so I think it's a little counterintuitive, but at the same time, we now have the infrastructure, the resources, the things around us to make the most of winter.
It's interesting though, because, and we could even touch on cold plunging, because when I was experiencing a lot of anxiety in college, the one thing that helped me get through it was cold. Utilizing cold showers, utilizing cold plunging, utilizing a walk in the cold. There's nothing that makes me feel more energized, more, you know, when they say you get a runner's high, I would rather run in the cold than run in the heat. And it's not because running in the cold is more enjoyable, but the way that I feel afterwards is 10 times better than when I run in the heat.
What do you know about Wim Hof?
I was obsessed with him during my pregnancy with Lennox. I would do him. I would do him morning, noon, and night.
Yeah. For those who don't know Wim Hof, he's like, he's this Dutch, extremely intense man who's referred to as the Iceman, who does all these insane endeavors like running half marathons in the snow barefoot, sitting in cold plungers for 2 hours,
hiking mountains in a bathing suit,
and hiking like Everest in a bathing suit. I mean, he has dedicated his entire life to show people that being cold is a mindset, and how breath and the specific breath technique that he's developed, the Wim Hof method, can help you withstand extremely cold temperatures, and not only withstand cold temperatures, but like improve your circulation, improve your lung capacity, like really help your body. And it's interesting because I can't go too into detail about this for fear of giving incorrect information, but he kind of came into the media and everyone was obsessed with this and obsessed with, oh my gosh, like cold therapy and cryotherapy and cold plunging, and this is amazing. But so much of that research since we've found out has only been done on men. And we are now starting to uncover that a lot of cryotherapy, a lot of cold plunging is actually really harmful to women at specific points in their cycle, hormonally, wherever you are. There's something that says that, again, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure there's something that says that in your luteal phase, you are not supposed to be exposing yourself to temperatures lower than 45 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's a hormone disruptor. It's an endocrine disruptor if you do. So that's also something to consider, is the differences in cold therapy and how they affect your body gender-wise.
I think it speaks to the lack of awareness around the cyclicalness of life, though, because the same way that we tend to ignore the demands of the seasons, and we try to constantly warm ourselves up in winter and fall and whatnot, we do the same thing with our menstrual cycles. We try to ignore the natural cycle that we are gifted with and power through our luteal phases when we're on our actual bleed. And when you're bleeding and when you're in your luteal phase, like, that's your inner winter. That's the time to eat the warming foods, to help your body. I mean, it takes a lot of work to shed. So you have to almost build up your reserves. But when you were talking, it was bringing me back to a point, because again, this whole idea of wintering, I think why I'm so in love with it is because I experienced a lot of anxiety and a lot of, I don't want to say depression. It was mostly anxiety, but I experienced a lot of hardship during winter, like all of my college years. And maybe it was because I never experienced winter and I never grew up with it. So it was really jarring to me. But at the same time, I think it was because I was so adverse to slowing down, and I was so adverse to just moving more slow. I mean, I grew up with parents who would never let me nap, or after I was a child. But slowing down was just not celebrated. And so what that led me to think about is, I think the one thing that helped me during my really anxious years was building resilience, building tolerance. And I think that the way that has helped me do that is by putting myself in controlled environments of stress, overcoming it. And it's almost like this muscle. It's almost like you are you are training your body.
Sure, it's exposure therapy.
Yes.
That's what Andrew Huberman talks about with cold plunging. Like, that's the only reason why it's actually good for you is because you're actually putting your body in a state of extreme stress. There's a part of your brain that lights up that, like, once cold plunging gets easy for you, it's not benefiting you.
Yeah.
It's not benefiting you if you're not putting your body in an extreme state of stress to be able to re-neutralize, to re-regulate. What do you think? What would you do? Like, how would you spend your time if you lived somewhere that had polar night, where it's dark for literally 4 months of the year?
I'd go to Hawaii.
Have you ever seen the girl on TikTok who's like, "Hi, my name's Cecilia, and I live in an island close to North Pole called Svalbard"?
Can't say I have.
No, someone who's listening, if you know that woman, please comment on this episode, because that's literally what she sounds like. She says, "Hi, I'm Cecilia, and I live in an island close to the North Pole, Svalbard."
That's pretty good.
Talks about how they have 4 months of polar night where the sun does not come out for 4 months.
You know what? I think the reason I'm so quick to be like, I'd go somewhere else is because, again, it's uncomfortable to sit with yourself. It's uncomfortable to be still. It's uncomfortable to not have the light. And there's real science, you know, when we don't get enough vitamin D from the sun or just supplemental, our serotonin levels dip. Like it directly affects our mood.
Yeah, and you have to supplement other places to like bring you joy and happiness.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of places will do winter festivals.
Yeah.
Because they're like, okay, we got to find something to celebrate here. We all are struggling because it is hard. I mean, it is really, really hard to slow down, to not have light, to not feel like you can be productive, blah, 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 all the things we've been saying. So they have to supplement joy.
I'm really curious if people listening, this is something I did not do research on, but I'm just thinking about it. The health of people who live in places where the climate does get cold versus the health of people where it's warm year round. Because in the book, Wintering, if you haven't heard me say it enough, she has a friend who she meets. She's a blogger. And this woman was diagnosed with bipolar. And she had a lot of bipolar episodes and it was never in control. And she was getting medicated by all these doctors. And she finally found this one doctor that was like, look, I don't want to cure you with all of these treatments and with all these medications. I want to help you thrive. Like I really want to help you find a way to live with the condition that you have and thrive with it. And so he's like, look, if medication is working, great, but you've tried all these things. Like, let's explore. And so it inspired her to do a lot of research and she started swimming year round. And she started swimming in the sea. They live in like Whitstable, UK or whatever. And they swim in the sea year round. And she said that is the only thing, swimming in the cold, that's the only thing that has kept her manic episodes at bay. And she says she treats bipolar. Again, this is not medical advice. This is just what the book is saying. She treats bipolar as inflammation of the brain.
Wow.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
And so she's like, just as a bum knee or a sore ankle, what do?
Ice it.
You ice it. You ice the brain. She's like, it's the only thing. And sure,
That's
I still have my episodes. I'm never going to live like a normal quote unquote life. But when I feel an episode coming on, I cancel my appointments. I move things around. I go to the beach. I swim. I instantly start feeling better.
Wow.
Isn't that nuts?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting to know how much of that has become like, I don't want to say placebo effect, but how some of it can be a physiological calming of the inflammation of her brain. But also now that she knows this is the place that I go when I need to be calm, and how that affects. I mean, either way, it's interesting to think about animals and hibernation, like we were talking about in the beginning of this episode. Like, hi, hibernating bears. Bears can only hibernate because their body releases a protein, which allows them to sleep for months. And humans in science are experimenting with the idea of duplicating that protein to give to humans to help them heal through long sustained injury, to
to actually hibernate,
to keep them asleep for extended periods of time in order to accelerate healing.
How would we regulate our body temperatures and our blood circulation?
I have no idea.
That's
They're also looking at it to explore space travel.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Because in this book, she talks about a few different animals during winter. She talks about bees and how bees are like kind of, they're so efficient and so, I mean, they've got a system nailed down. Every bee has a role. It's like a completely well-oiled machine, but the whole system is to make honey that is their source of carbohydrate during winter. I mean, it's all animals are doing in summer is preparing for winter.
Does she talk about the wood frog at all?
No, she talks about dormice. What's the wood frog?
What's dormice?
Well, she talks about dormice and how they're the process of them hibernating and how they have to, like, if they aren't, obviously a lot of animals die during winter because they don't set up a safe enough environment for them to be in, or they don't eat enough. It was like a lean summer or whatever, but they have to also be in environments when they hibernate that are moist, like wet, a little wet, because something about the way that their body temperature regulates. If it's too dry, it's not gonna.
Interesting.
And also if they fluctuate by a few degrees, they wake up, that puts them in a really vulnerable position to not survive. Yeah.
The wood frog freezes itself solid. Its heart stops. It literally freezes. Its heart stops and then it defrosts itself in the spring.
How?
I have no idea. But humans are, again, studying those frogs to look at how to, like, cryogenically freeze humans and bodies.
Have you ever heard of Dead Man's Day in Netherlands?
Yes.
So the whole lore there
I thought it was Estes Park. No, maybe it's Ned.
It's Netherlands.
It's Ned.
The whole lore there is...
They moved his body.
They what?
He's not in Ned anymore. They moved his body.
Okay, what was the whole lore, though? Was it
This man died and wanted to be frozen solid, and in hopes of, I don't know, coming back to life one day. Mm-hmm. And they formed this whole festival around this guy who was kept in a freezer, apparently, and wasn't allowed to decompose, and like signed a bunch of contracts that said, like, do not let me decompose. And they basically just did all these crazy, like, ice festival things.
Would you ever want to be frozen?
Hell yeah.
Really?
Sure, I don't care. I actually know because I want to donate my organs.
Yeah.
Did you know that donating your organs is an opt-in thing?
Yeah.
I think that's crazy. I think it should be an opt-out thing.
What do you mean? Oh, you think everybody should be donated, but you should be able to opt out?
Yes, versus no one's donating and then you have to opt in.
I think it's a very religious reasoning.
Probably.
You know?
Probably.
Like, how are you going to tell the Catholics that?
I'll tell them. Just go on Instagram, Amanda. Go tell them on your Instagram stories. Well, I think overall, I mean, it's just an interesting conversation to have. We threw out random facts. We threw out personal experience. We threw out... You seem like you have something you want to say.
I just have one more thing. So there are so many things in this book. I really like how class is in session, bitch. I really like how...
Wrap it up.
I really like how she laid this out, because it's not like it's not like any other self-help book where they're talking about all the tools that you can use to get through winter. She's really doing it in like a memoir style where she's taking you through each month and she's sharing personal stories and also interesting facts about this specific month and things that happen in it. So it's a really nice read. I appreciate like beautifully written pieces of work, and she just did a phenomenal job. But there's this one quote that when I read it, I was like, whoa. And I wanted to share it because it kind of sums up what the book is about and just winter and the metaphor of wintering. But it says, there are gaps in the mesh of the everyday world, and sometimes they open up and you fall through them into somewhere else. Somewhere else, which is capital S, capital E.
Oh, I love capitals.
You love your capitals. Runs at a different pace to the here and now, where everyone else carries on. Somewhere else is where ghosts live, concealed from view and only glimpsed by people in the real world. Somewhere else exists at a delay so that you can't quite keep pace. Perhaps I was already teetering on the brink of somewhere else anyway, but now I fell through, as simply and discreetly as dust sifting between the floorboards. I was surprised to find that I felt at home there. Winter had begun.
Love.
So
we're all just dust between the floorboards, baby.
Essentially, allow yourself to fall in.
She says, essentially.
If you're feeling the pull, the intuitive pull to allow yourself to winter, to deeply nourish yourself in this season, fall in. Allow yourself to fall in. I feel like so often we resist. Mm-hmm. Don't resist. Fall in.
Mm-hmm. What she said.
She's like, we gotta get the fuck to Pilates.
We do. I'm not missing this class. It's my favorite teacher, Nadal.
Well, thank you guys for listening. If you want to buy this book, I do have a little affiliate link you can use.
Shut the fuck up. We'll link it in the bio.
Love you guys.
Go winter. Go be dust in a crack.
And leave a review if you are looking for things to bring you joy in this winter season.
Yeah, please validate me that you've seen Napoleon Dynamite and something else that I said that I engaged you on. Bye.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Thank God I have my glasses on. Thank God I have my glasses on.